This is a fake Lamborghini Diablo shell, and it's actually a super rare, genuine one-to-one copy. And this is a BMW E36. Well, it used to be a BMW E36. There's not much left of it now. We've chopped this thing up and done an insane amount of work to it, including fitting this amazing Chimera Development roll cage. And the end goal is to have this fitted to this, and it be an absolutely wild drift car. Oh yeah, and I forgot to mention, this is the heart of the project, our 13B turbo rotary motor. Not that though, that is just a half brim and shovel. In the last video, we painted the engine bay and it actually turned out really nice. We got that sparkle paint going on, but we've got a really tight deadline with this car. It needs to be finished by the 26th of January for a massive event here in Melbourne, Australia. And while it might seem like we have, 2.5 months on our hands, I'm actually headed to Japan tomorrow morning for 10 days to go driving. And when we get back, this thing goes into paint, so we lose the car for 3 weeks, which means it's gonna be a really tight run to the finish. And we have a lot of work to do. And in this video, we are gonna get the spray gun back out and we're painting this roll cage. Not only are we gonna paint the roll cage, we're painting the underside of our shell, we're refitting our 13B engine, and hopefully putting the shell back onto the car. That is the theory anyway. We've got to get that all done today, which means I need to stop talking and start working. The first thing we're gonna do is wheel our 13B motor outside, degrease it, and pressure wash it so it's all nice and beautiful to go back into our brand new painted engine bay. All the holes on the motor are of course covered up, so we can't get any water in any places that water shouldn't be. Good old SP Tools kit. This thing has done me so well. Literally changed the game in the shop when it comes to tools and how we work, which is so good.
We're getting to the pointy end of the build now, and it feels pretty crazy knowing we're bolting the engine into the car for the final time. After degreasing the engine, it's time to pull the car outside and prep the shell for paint. By the way, this thing is so light. Drop your guesses in the comments below on how much you think this car will weigh when it's finished.
So our Woz goes over the cage and makes sure I haven't missed anything, and in fact he found a couple of spots that I did miss, because Woz is a proper fabricator and I'm a pretend fabricator, so he's just making sure that we are all good to go before we lay down some paint. While he does that, I'm going to start prepping the rest of the cage so that we can go ahead and lay down the paint once we get that tick of approval from Woz. So we're officially ready to paint, and well, Woz found a bunch of little welds that I completely missed, just on the underside of the bars and stuff. This is my first ever full cage that I've welded up, so mistakes are to be expected. There wasn't a whole lot of masking I needed to do because the whole interior of the car is going to be the same white, but at the moment the only reason we're actually painting the cage itself is because we're dropping the shell down onto the cage, and once the shell's on you can't paint the top of the cage, so really we only need to paint the top of the cage at the moment. But I'll paint the whole thing, then we'll paint the interior of the car once the interior is finalized. So it's kind of a confusing process in terms of deciding what to do when and next, which is what I've been struggling with for the last couple of weeks. Nonetheless, we're ready to paint. Just quickly as well, I read every comment on every video, and in the last video you guys were expressing concern because we need a little more support on the strut towers. So what we're going to do there, because I always listen to you guys and take your advice, is we're going to weld a bar that goes from here up into the underside of here. We'll plate under here. I will have to touch up the paint here, but this is an area that you don't actually see once the shell is on anyway. But we'll run bars here to here, and those bars will actually help us because we're gonna have an oil cooler on either corner of the car, because rotaries need a lot of oil cooling, and those oil coolers will likely mount off those bars in some way, shape or form. We'll also have a bash bar going along the front of the car, so when we do the bash bar we're also going to do those bars as well. But thank you very much for your advice. If you ever want to give me advice, drop a comment below. I read every single one of them. But let's go ahead and lay down some paint on the cage. Paint is mixed and ready to go. That is a bright white right there. So first of all, that kind of sucked. It was way more difficult than I anticipated it was going to be. I never realized roll cages take so long to paint, but there are so many little crevices and nooks and crannies that you need to get into, and it just takes so much paint as well. I did not expect it, but I guess it's absolutely beautiful. I'm so happy with that result. And this white is like the whitest white that you can get, and I chose this color because the color we're painting the shell, white goes so well with it, and it's just absolutely going to pop. Plus, I really wanted to represent Chimera Development because they hooked this cage up, and it's just so freaking beautiful. All right, while our beautiful roll cage is drying, we're gonna go inside and we're gonna prep the underside of our shell so it can go back onto the car. So currently the underside of the shell is bare fiberglass, and whilst I'm unsure whether we'll be able to see any of the shell exposed once this car is finished, I'm not gonna take any risks, so I'm going to undercoat the inside of the shell with this Stone Guard undercoat that we got from Autobahn. I just think it's gonna make things look a whole lot neater, but there's also a couple of wee things under here in the shell, like this wasp nest we need to take care of. So I'm gonna throw a mask on and we're gonna get painting.
I took care of all of the obvious imperfections with a wire wheel on the grinder and filled in a few holes with fiberglass filler before laying down the undercoat. I'm so happy I took the time to do this, as it made a massive difference to the overall appearance of the shell.
And just like that, the job is done. It's all undercoated and looks absolutely fantastic. It's crazy what a little bit of black paint will do, but it just completely changed the whole look of the underside. And now that means we get to put this onto that, but first we get to drop our 13B turbo motor back into our beautifully painted engine bay. A bunch of you guys commented that it would be cool if we could leave it like this because it looks so damn good, and I have to agree with you guys. This thing looks freaking awesome. I honestly can't get over how much progress, and the fact that this is all just coming together so well is pretty mind-blowing, I have to be honest. It's been a couple hours now. The cage is actually ready to touch, which is nice. That's what I love about this paint. It dries so quickly. But let's roll this thing inside and put the motor back in the car.
Our current 13B motor is a rebuilt stock motor that we're using for version 1 of this build, but the plan is to upgrade to a fully built ported engine sometime in the near future. But given that it's going to be so light, the current setup will have more than enough power for a good time.
Boom. 13B back in its home. So good. We are making some friggin' crazy progress today, and I am all about it. The degreasing definitely helped the thing look so clean now. I also cut the alternator mount off because we don't need it anymore. We'll tidy that up obviously, but that giant triangle ugly thing there, no longer needed. We're gonna mount our alternator down the side here, and we're going to run electric power steering in this thing. We'll also get rid of this as well because we don't need it. We're just gonna run this plate along with a couple of AN fittings for the water lines. We're obviously running a rear mounted radiator, so that should tidy this up a whole lot as well. And then we'll be running our own custom plenum on here with the throttle body that'll go kind of here, and then the intercooler piping. So it should be a really tidy little rotary setup in the engine bay. But now that the engine's in, it means we can put the shell on the car. But of course, I'll throw the turbo and the manifold on before we put the shell on, because, well, you're not going to have your turbo and your manifold sitting on the engine. If we have a turbo, we gons the turbo. I am just the happiest dude right now. That is so friggin' good. Absolutely unbelievable. How good, guys. We've done some good stuff here. This engine mount here needs a repaint because apparently the degreaser we used completely stripped it, but that's fine because we're actually gonna put a gusset in this engine mount just to triangulate and strengthen it up as recommended by someone in the comments. But enough talking, let's throw the shell on the car with our freshly painted roll cage. Luckily help just turned up. Perfect timing. We're going to Japan in the morning, but right now I'm putting you to work.
We're working on the Lamborghini.
Straight away.
Getting the chassis in place and mounting the shell took about 20 minutes, and it's relatively easy when you have someone else to help out. But it's a damn good feeling when that shell slips in place.
And just like that, the shell is permanently on the chassis for the final time. Probably famous last words. And the cage looks gangster. What do you think, Nathan?
Yeah, it looks awesome.
It's good, huh?
Yeah.
I mean, like, it doesn't look super hard hitting on the primer, but
The cage pops. The first thing to grab your eye is the cage straight away. And
Absolutely.
that's without the rest being nice.
but the color it's going to be, the cage is going to really
Pop even more.
Like, it's going to be absolutely crazy, but Man, look at the presence of this thing. This is going to be friggin' wild. But the cage turned out absolutely amazing. Could not be happier with the end result. And what we are going to do is order some clear vinyl off eBay, and we'll vinyl wrap the sides so that when you get in and out, you're not constantly scratching this. Even though the paint's quite durable, you basically rest your ass on this when you get in the car because it's quite difficult to get in and out of, because look at that wee space right there. So Nathan recommended the clear vinyl.
It works well.
I tend to agree.
Make it last longer.
Such a massive job done, out of the way, and we can now move forward with all of the other million jobs that we have to do on the car to get it finished. And if you are enjoying the series, feel free to subscribe to the channel, but also feel free to jump on and grab some fake Lamborghini merch. The pre-sale is currently live, and I'm also giving away a full Camus racing simulator to one lucky person who purchases some merch. But man, I'm just so happy with the progress in this video, and that's basically a wrap. We need to go.
Got a flight to catch.
Well, yes, in like 10 hours or less. 10, 11, 12,
It's almost
1, 2, 3. Oh my God, we've got to be up in 6 hours.
6 hours.
I'm not good with no sleep either. I'm such a cranky dude, but I'm so cranky. But thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you are enjoying the series. Hit me with a comment below, share the love, subscribe to the channel if you feel like subscribing, and I will see you guys in the next video when we're back from Japan and we're gonna get straight back into this thing. But I mean, look at it, like, that is just such an incredible looking car. It's gonna be absolutely ridiculous. Thank you guys, see you later. Peace, bye. Nathan, say bye.
Bye.
Fake Lamborghini, it's all there, baby. Cage is painted, engine's in, engine bay's painted. Oh my God, we did so much. Bye.